What is happening, party people? Welcome in to the 14th episode of Beards of Light. I am Cooler Monster Gaming, joined by the great and always great Gibbles Destruct.
Hey guys, how you doing?
We got a semi-action packed episode for today. We got some good discussions, some great stuff happening in the last week of gaming. Still waiting on that Biggie appearance. Hopefully next week. He's been working on something big, so he wanted to take some time to do that. But we are hopefully going to be back in on it with him next week. Get him on the schedule, get him in here. But we have enough to talk about here tonight. As always, as we always start off with our Final Fantasy developments. Gibbles, you want to talk about that live letter last week?
Yeah, so we had a new live letter. It was during the 14-hour stream, I believe.
Yep.
I didn't really watch it there, but I went over all of the translated stuff later. It's a lot of new information. Enhanced blacklist. They're adding a mute list. They're adding a term filter that you can adjust yourself. Lot of good privacy settings. They showed off a lot of the new graphics, and we got the benchmark. And so you can mess with your Roth mommies a little early now if you want to mess around with that. There's a character creator attached to them if you've never done benchmark before. And we got a calendar dropped. Pretty cool. Calendar drop. Go for the next 2 months, showing all of the content, all the like quote unquote content until Dawn Trail.
May swap over to that. Yeah. Maybe swap over to that.
Cool.
Pew. There you go.
Yep. So next Wednesday we kick off Yokai Watch Returns. If you haven't finished the yokai stuff or have never done the yokai stuff, the event's back, and the event goes for a pretty long while, a whole month. For April 24th all the way until, actually 2 months, all the way until June 25th, right up until Dawn Trail. We've got another Moogle Trove coming in next month on the 14th, so pretty much almost exactly a month away. Another Make It Rain campaign. I'm hoping the Treasure Trove actually has stuff I want, because there's nothing I wanted on this last one. But one thing that's really exciting is the letter, another live letter coming up next month on the 16th. And they were like, maybe it'll have some job stuff, maybe not. So probably gonna have, I'm gonna say probably gonna have some job stuff in it. We also have the Dragon Quest collab coming back, and that one's gonna run for a whole 3 weeks, or wait, like 2 weeks, in June. And there's gonna be one more live letter before Dawn Trail drop.
Yeah, so gotta get your slime hat.
Fun stuff. Yep. And little notice, make sure everyone knows, the window before the maintenance window before Dawn Trail is a 48-hour maintenance window. So make sure you got all your stuff done and locked in on the Tuesday before.
Get your work week done so that you can enjoy some Dawn Trail on the 26th.
Yep, it drops. Yep.
Or 28th? 28th.
Yeah. Yeah, 28th. The calendar looks kind of weird. The calendar looks like it says like it's on the 29th, which is kind of funny. Like,
yeah,
the way I'm reading it. But yeah, I think it's 28th. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I can break down into some of the actual Final Fantasy news, the Blacklist stuff, real quick.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the in addition to the Blacklist, Blacklist is getting, I believe, the number of people blacklisted is going up, and they're adding a secondary list called the Mute List, that they do not share the same number of people. So Blacklist is up to 200 characters can be registered, and the Mute List is also up to 200 characters. So you can have a total like 400 people that you don't want to listen to. Also, Blacklist is now account wide.
Nice.
It is not character based, so which is great. That is only for blacklisted characters after 7.0. That's one thing. So any characters you already have on a blacklist isn't immediately shared across all your characters. You would have to re-blacklist them on the other characters, but going forward, they are all account wide. They have updated so you cannot see blacklisted characters. They don't show up anymore, and anything that they say in let me see. Yeah, the character model will now be hidden in addition to the messages. Where's the messages section? Okay, it's just a little bit farther down. Blacklisted characters will be displayed in certain situations where visibility is necessary. They are not making it so you cannot be partied with blacklisted people. You can see them. You won't be able to see their character name. They'll be listed as unknown, and anything that they say in the party will be listed as unknown, and you won't even be able to see it unless you elect to. There'll be an option when they start chatting that shows up in the chat box, and you can click yes if you actually want to see what they're saying. If you just see random unknown is typing and you're like, they're blacklisted, I don't want to hear what they have to say, you can ignore it. Which is pretty good. You can also just mute someone specifically. You don't. This doesn't erase their character from you, but they won't be. It's the exact same thing. You won't be able to see any of their messages unless you elect to. Um, I noticed. Yeah, notification will when they speak. There was something about like specifically. Also, mute list is character specific, I believe. It's not account wide, unlike the blacklist.
So
as well.
basically, the current ban list will become the
Yeah.
mute list.
Okay, here it is. So, the filter. Sorry, the term filter. So you can set new term filters. So if you don't want certain terms to be set, like if someone I don't know, if you don't want someone to say something specific in like limbs or something like that, you can put a term filter on. It's an option for you now, and that will those will not show up in say, tell, yell, shout, or emote. Applies to see in emote in all circumstances, including duties. It will not apply to link shell, crossroad link shell, party, or free company chat. And I think they did that because the ones that it applies to are ones that you do not opt into. They're just there. They'll always
Right.
happen if someone can send you a tell, someone can yell, shout, or say in your vicinity. And that's not something you can opt into, but you can choose to be in a link shell with someone, in a party with someone, or in the free company with that person saying the thing that the filtered item. And I think that's why they set it up that way. And here's the big one that I think is nice: estate expulsion feature. So this is for free companies and personal houses. If someone is on your blacklist, so right now for your housing, right, you can either set it no one can come into my house or everyone can come into my house. You can't filter out specific people. Now, if they're on your blacklist, they can't enter your house. Just period. You can also set there's also an expulsion list. So it's a third like no fly list kind of thing. The mute blacklist and has an expulsion list, and you can just make sure those people just don't come in. You can set designated people in your the free company leader can set, I think it was up to 4 people in the free company. Let me make sure. Yeah, 4 free company members or housemates to have access to the expulsion list. And if any of those 4 people enter the property, their blacklist is added to the expulsion list. So say someone is in your house and is on someone else's your friend's blacklist who's a housemate or a free company mate. If they're so someone's in the house, they're not on your blacklist, and you're like you can be talking to them, RPing, whatever you want to be doing in the FC. Someone another FC mate who has the access to the expulsion list has them on a blacklist and enters the property, they're instantly kicked out.
That's interesting.
Yep, which I think is really great. And then the lodestone, they added privacy settings to the lodestone. Your blacklisted characters, blocked players can no longer be able to see your lodestone information. Well, yeah. So you can block players just out of the lodestone, but it also just applies to your in-game blacklist as well. They also won't be able to see your lodestone information. And you can set a lot of lodestone privacy settings now. You can remove yourself from character searches. Yeah, limit who can view aspects of your lodestone character page, such as profile, achievements, and friends. Visibility can be limited to friends, free company members, link shell members, etc. And then you can selectively choose people with blacklist as well. And that's all the actual info that we got from the live letter that's going to be happening in 7.0. And I think that they're really good things. My only thing, and I actually want to toss this back at you, is that blacklist enough? This is the thing I was thinking of.
I think it definitely is helpful, right? I mean, you won't really know how effective it is until we start using it. I think that's kind of the key to this whole thing. Is like, I can't say for certain whether it will be something that is helpful or hurtful until I have my hands in on it and messing with it and been able to be like, yeah, I guess that's helpful.
The only thing I wish they would have added to this blacklist feature, and I'm not sure if it actually works like this yet or not, because it doesn't sound like it acts like this. The only thing I wish was that if I blacklist you, you can't see me either. I want to be invisible to you, because otherwise if you see me walking around, right, there's no like, and I'm talking to people who don't have you blacklisted, right? You can walk up and just start smack talking me, and I don't see you there,
Right.
right, to all the people around me. So that's the only thing that I think is it would be beneficial.
Yeah,
but as far as I can tell, that's not it might work that way, but as far as I can tell, it didn't say that.
Yeah, I guess there's another piece of this to think about as well. Like, I almost would go as far as to say, from somebody who had a friend who got stalked in game, I would go as far as to say that maybe like restricting, when it comes to like housing stuff, like restricting a user from being able to access even that ward.
I don't know about that, because they're still invisible.
They are, but like, I don't know.
Because here's the problem with that. They could have, even across the ward, they could have a friend across the ward, or you guys could have free companies across. And I mean, this could be just some dude that pissed you off in raid, and you don't know that their FC house is across from your FC house, and like across.
I guess that's kind of the difference, right?
And all of a sudden, they can't go to their free company. So
that's kind of the difference, though. Is like I'm not using the blacklist for raid BS. I'm using the mute list for that. Like, I'm using the blacklist for like really offensive, like I'm done with you kind of situations.
And that is how Yoshi P has said, like, to please use it that way as well.
Yeah.
Let me see if I have his direct quote. He said sorry about we understand concerns that asked to just prevent matching with blacklisted players, but that would make the system a lot more complicated, and he said sorry. So that was a concern some people raised. And then here's his other quote. So for most things, you will probably use the mute list, and if it gets really bad, you will use the blacklist. So that's the intention of it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think you can. If you blacklist someone, you delete their character from existence for you, right?
Unless you right, but that doesn't stop them from standing in your front lawn.
Yeah, that's why you just go inside, right?
Yeah, no, I get that. It's just one of those things. It's like it's that same scenario where like somebody knows where you live. They could just literally walk to the front of your house, stand there. When people come up to visit, they can just, because it doesn't expel you from the front of the house, it just expels you from being inside the house. So they could just stand there and start talking shit to whoever walks by about you. And I don't know. It just doesn't. It's not a good feeling.
But it does create problems if you go that far, of like, if they have a house in the same ward as you and they already did before you blacklisted them, how does that resolve?
Sure. Right? Yeah, I mean, there's definitely pieces of that, right? It's just one of those things. You've got to kind of, I don't know. There's got to be a happy balance.
Yeah, I do think. So I don't remember this. If you unfriend someone, it doesn't remove you from their friends list, right?
Correct.
That's one thing they need to add as well. They need to do that, and they need to make it so if you blacklist someone, they can't see you either.
There are ways to tell when somebody unfriends you, though.
It doesn't really have so much drama and harassment, but there are instances of it.
Right.
So one instance of it, I had a really bad breakup about 9 years ago now. I had like worked backwards. I was like, me and Harley have been together this long, and then like an extra little bit. Yeah, like 9 years ago now. And they had friends show up at my house, and I had like the little like the leave a note about like the house design thing like that, and they were leaving hate comments in it.
Yeah.
So like there isn't like the community isn't really toxic, but that doesn't mean you can't have falling outs, you can't have bad like relationship, like things happen in just like real world relationship problems, and people will get toxic just in general, and doesn't have to necessarily do with the game the community that the game has like created isn't that way, but things can happen to create instances of people like that.
Yes,
That's not to say
suck.
that there isn't just random harassment, like especially with like parsing and stuff like that in duties, but that's a separate.
At the end of the day, people suck. That's basically what we take from that.
So, I was gonna go over the last thing is they released a bunch of stats for us in the last live letter.
That's right, the super fun stats. Let's hear them.
Yeah, well, they hit over 30 million players, which is huge.
That's a large sum of people.
Yes. They have received over 240, they have received exactly 240 accolades worldwide, and they've been nominated 313 times. That's a really big win ratio. There are currently 88 Aetherites in the game. Here's and this is not including 7.0. None of this is. They had 27 in 2.0 and a Realmborn. Here's where shit gets kind of crazy. And again, this is not including 7.0. And this is also not including PvP areas, Gold Saucer, and content like Eureka. But there's 325 duties in the Duty Finder.
Jeez.
There's 159 hours of cutscenes in the game. So much. How many movies is that? How many Marvel universes is that? I think it's more than one. There's over 4,917 minutes of music with 1,583 songs available. The number of materia is equal to 100 grams. The number of materia, the weight of materia melded in the last year was 16,096 tons.
It's a small amount of material. Just a small amount of material.
Just a small amount, yeah.
The tiny bit.
I wish they had said how many actual materia that is. I mean, you could do the math, but I don't want to. So there's a really common item in the game, the Realm Reborn Red, right? The champagne bottle you shake up and pop the cork and like shoots out, right? It's a really common item, especially when you go do the wedding. Everyone is like spamming it. The measure of the cork that shoots out from it, they measured that, multiplied it by the number of Realm Reborn's reds used, and it equaled more than the circumference of the Earth, 46,152 kilometers.
Too many.
Oh, this is funny. The number of potions used.
Does that include
the amount of potions used, excluding Fantasias, and this doesn't include food, it's just potions.
So tinctures
is 54,350,656 liters. It is more than the annual consumption of ketchup in the US.
Why somebody knows that, I don't know.
I don't know. And then here's the one thing I thought was really interesting. They actually did a pie chart of when people joined the game. And as everyone knew, 34%, the biggest pie chart was Shadowbringers. Yep. I wasn't expecting this though. 26% are Realmborn in second.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. There was a lot of people who played and then stepped away.
Like 13% for Endwalker and Heavensward, 14% for Stormblood.
Yeah, a lot of people played and then stepped away. So, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the WoW Exodus was and COVID was Shadowbringers, so it just that's why Shadowbringers was the big boom.
Yep. And because it's a bomb story.
Hell yeah.
For most of us, not for all of us.
Hey, okay. 5.0. Once you start 5.1, I love the story. Okay. I'm the 26% Realmborn. yeah, so that's all of the news from the live letter, other than the benchmark. You can see a bunch of new abilities. Um, we get to see one ability from each class. Surprisingly, the warrior one is a defensive that we see. I think it was the only tank that showed a defensive skill. For its like ability showcase during the benchmark. The video for it is on YouTube. You can find it if you want to frame by frame it, or you can load up the benchmark, see if your game will play it, and you can even just put your character into it and run it, and you can see your character doing the cutscene instead of Meteor, the generic one.
But it's only on PC.
Yeah, only on PC. That is.
Yeah, there's no benchmark
true.
for console, so if you play on console, then too bad.
Yeah. We did see the Viper LB3, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
And then we saw the most of the Viper just actually fighting, and we saw the Viper LB3. Other than that, we saw one ability, new ability from each of the classes. Yeah. I don't think any of them were extremely outish, except for it looks like we saw White Mage and Scholar upgraded buffs. Or an Astro too.
Yeah, it'll be it's gonna be fun.
Oh yeah, they added the Meteor hairstyle as well.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Into the thing, yeah. See the both the original one and the the Endwalker hairstyle that he had, and the new Shadowbringers one in the character creator.
People getting their characters ready for day one.
Go mess with those. Go mess with your the character creation. You can make a bunch of Roth mummies.
All the Roth mummies. So speaking of are we good on the Final Fantasy stuff?
Yeah, we're that's all Final Fantasy news. Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of things with release dates, or I mean, not release dates. Let's talk about some Silksong. I know it's a touchy subject for some. Those of us who very thoroughly enjoyed Hollow Knight. Devs are saying that there is hold on, wait a minute. I forgot to do this. So I gotta put my clown makeup on before I start this segment so that we can talk about it. Sorry. So the annual event where a lot of the games from the publisher that's doing Silksong were premiering, what they were showing off for the year. So you saw indie. It's an indie scene. It's a AAA initiative organized by some of the big names. So it brings things like Slay the Spire developers and Dead Cell and more. It's all of the big anticipated indie games of the year, and what we thought was going to be a tease on the front end of the countdown turned out to be nothing. We saw absolutely nothing from Silksong, and it's a little heartbreaking. So the hope is that the devs are saying it is still being in development, but they're not guaranteeing it's going to come out this year. I will say, though, that all of the major platforms that are going to be playing this all have pre-release store items for it. So PlayStation has a coming soon, and Xbox has a coming soon, and Nintendo has a coming soon, and I know that Steam has had one for a while. It's a mighty big bummer.
From a couple weeks ago is it actually got an ESRB now.
Yeah, so it got an ESRB, which means it should be coming out hopefully relatively soon, but there's no guarantees on that.
It's not real. It doesn't exist.
It's not real.
Silksong will never come out. It's not real.
It's never going to come out.
Exactly. Speaking of things that are never going to get out.
Yeah, no kidding.
So this the headline, the title thing. So there's a Japanese resident who decided to go. He was ROM hacking Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and was selling the Pokemon. I mean, we all remember Action Replays, right?
Yeah.
Stick it in, like get your shiny Mewtwo, whatever, right? Get the mystery gifts so you can get like the special event Pokemons, your Darkrai, whatever. So yeah, he was hacking in Pokemon and then had a website up and he was selling them for like $10 or so, like a Pokemon, and was just selling a bunch of them. Yeah, he's arrested now in Japan, which if you know how Japanese law is, which a lot of people are kind of familiar with it now with Johnny Somali incident, they don't really arrest you until they're like really sure they're gonna get you in like with all the
Yeah.
evidence. They have a 98% like
Conviction rate.
conviction rate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't know what his like if he's found guilty. We don't know yet. He's just arrested. But what's on the table is 5 years in prison for
Pokemon, guys. For Pokemon.
Yeah. Yeah, he ROM hacked Pokemon, and then he was effectively like a people are relating it to like Gil sellers or like gold, WoW Gold.
Right.
Sorry, so he was selling it from the Pokemon anywhere from $30 to $90 USD, but you from December 2022 to March 2023, you can find these for like $10, $15 and stuff like that. So he was selling kind of like a premium, but I guess he was selling quite a bit of them. But this violates in Japan what's called the Unfair Competition Prevention Act. He has reportedly already confessed to the crime, simply saying that he did it to make a living. The investigation's ongoing. They're not nothing's really like fully settled yet, but he is arrested for it. They believe the sales could have been worth millions of yen or thousands of dollars in U.S. currency.
Jesus.
So the maximum penalty for this crime, penalties for this crime include a 5 million yen, that's 33,000 USD penalty, and imprisonment for 5 years. That's the maximum he can get. So he might have to pay $33,000 and 5 years in prison.
Yeah, I'm sure they're gonna make an example of this.
That's maximum though. I don't think he's gonna get maximum, because they rarely ever use the maximum penalty. But that's talking about American law. I don't know about necessarily Japan law. Ooh, I didn't realize this one. Back in 2021, when Sword and Shield was the most recent game, another man was arrested for selling hacked Pokemon games. I didn't know that. I'm just reading there now. It doesn't say if he was
trying to make a living.
Well, no, I was saying trying to make a living. No, yeah. But yeah, it doesn't say if he was convicted or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, fucking Pokemon.
Jesus.
Hey, I mean, like, are they gonna come for like all the like 10-year-olds that had action replays and shit? I mean, you can still do that to some degree, because I mean, like, I can throw in an action replay into a DS, right? And then I can load up a bunch of like older gen Pokemon, and I can just transfer them using like the Pokemon Bank and stuff like that, all the way up to the newest one, and I can still sell you stuff. even if I didn't like, although that's the hard way to do it. I mean, really, there's no reason. Now that I said that, there's no reason to do that. I can still just ROM hack the. I'm not doing it, and this is not legal advice. But I mean, like,
if I wanted to do it legally, what would I do?
I think the main reason why they got him is because he was selling.
Yeah.
Right. He was effectively. It's like WoW or 14 going after a Gil or Gold seller kind of thing.
Yep.
But just imagining like Yoshi P like sitting there like on trial being like, yes, he has caused so much problems for my game, please make this guy sit in jail for 5 years. I do not see Yoshi P. I don't think Yoshi P would ever do that.
That would be really interesting.
I mean, it wouldn't be up to him to file charges, but
right,
he'd be on Square.
Be on the Square.
Let's imagine them putting him on trial.
Speaking of bait and switches, we got word that the Star Wars Outlaw game, which had the trailer with Jabba the Hutt, which had the trailer for the Jabba the Hutt, is mission locked behind paid DLC, baby. Get wrecked. This is another situation where this is like paid DLC gone wrong. So in order to buy the Gambit mission for Jabba the Hutt, you have to either pay $109.99 or $129.99, effectively an additional $40 to $50,
Oh,
or
you're
$40 to
muted.
$60.
I think.
What? Am I muted? Oh, I must have hit something on my thing.
okay.
Effectively, another $50 or $60 more than ESRP. So it's out of control, guys. We have to take a stand at some point and stop buying into these pay to wins or DLCs. Like, this is like, Jabba's a very like pretty high end character to be completely missing from a game because you didn't buy the DLC. That's ridiculous.
So
yeah.
I was watching this thing and it was going over all of the breakdowns, which I'm trying to find. They had like a graphic of all the different ways you could buy it. And so it's like $70 flat, and then like the next upgrades will some of the upgrades will get you like the season pass and things like that. But hey, if you subscribe $18 a month to Ubisoft premium, then you get I think you get everything. You get all the stuff. Like discover. Oh, here's Discover. I found it. Okay, cool. Yeah. So Gold Edition, which is $109, you get pre-order bonuses. You get the season pass and the early access. $130, you get a digital art book and some like Sabak Shark bundle. You get a couple of extra bundles on top of it, or you can get everything for subscribing to Ubisoft, which I'm assuming if you unsubscribe, you lose it all.
You would lose it.
And
You'd
that's,
lose the access.
and that is a really expensive subscription too.
Yeah, but you get the Ubisoft subscription actually gives you access to pretty much everything they have under their belt. So like I'm not advertising to do it. I'm saying like you get, it's basically the Xbox subscription for Ubisoft.
So I can play the Ezio collection and then unsubscribe.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, I liked Watch Dogs. Hi guys, how you doing? But yeah, no, it's I was watching a thing and it was talking about how like it's pretty much they're doing this specifically so that people like the best thing for you to do is just do the Ubisoft Plus, and they're just hoping people don't unsubscribe and just forget to unsubscribe.
So if you subscribe for the $17.99, you get like almost their entire backlog. I mean, let me see what games they've got kind of showing off in here. You've got Skull and Bones, which was their quadruple A game. You had the new Valiant Hearts coming home, which actually the first one was really good.
Honey, like, do you like? He's played almost every Ubisoft game, but does he already own them?
Right.
Like a lot of like Ubisoft, Ubisoft hasn't put one home, I don't think, since Black Flag.
That's not true. I disagree.
I can't name another Ubisoft game that they've like.
Assassin's Creed 4 was fantastic.
That's Black Flag.
No, 4 was not Black Flag. 4 was the French Revolution. Black Flag was its own game.
Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag.
Well, then it was 5 or whatever. It was the French Revolution one.
Unity. Wasn't this the one that they split into two different like versions?
No, Black Flag. You're thinking of Rogue and something else. I can't remember what the other one was for Rogue, but it was Assassin's Creed Rogue was the one they split. The one that was exclusive on certain consoles. but you also get access to Mirage, which I heard Mirage was actually fairly good. Like I've heard good things about Mirage. Let's see. You get Rainbow Six. You get the Ghost Recon series games, which were fairly good. Far Cry 6 is on there if you don't already have it. Let me see if I can go by bestsellers and see what they have. Yeah, Watchdog. The first Watchdog is available on there. Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora, which people kind of liked. I need to go back and play the Division 2 because I actually really liked that game. That game was pretty fantastic.
I tried Division 2. So I tried both the Division and Division 2, and I just like couldn't like get in. So I did the open beta for Division. I had a ton of fun. I played with a bunch of friends, right? And then like the actual game came out, and then just didn't play it. And then Division 2, I think I did the same thing. I just didn't play it.
They've got one of the best game series of all time, which is Splinter Cell, which is a fantastic game series.
I might play another Ubisoft game if they make another Splinter Cell.
Yeah, Splinter Cell is where it's at. If they can make another Splinter Cell like they did on Blacklist for me was really good. The fact that they gave you the ability to do points based upon like how you wanted to play the game, where if you wanted to be more stealthy, you got points for stealth. If you wanted to be more loud, you could be loud. That game was really, really good. I'd love them to go back and make a good Prince of Persia game and not the shit that they've been trying to pump out from Prince of Persia for a while. But yeah, that would be the only thing I would have qualms with. Like Sands of Time and that series was fantastic.
And also, I just don't like subscription services. I'm already thinking about like unsubscribing to like. I think the only one I have left is Hulu. I think I'm just gonna unsubscribe from it. Because I've been moving away from using them, period, because like their services are just getting really expensive just in general.
Yeah, I can see that.
So like I don't want my video games to be subscription service too. Because like it's gonna start being like, and like get all of your subscription stuff here at Xbox. Oh, and Ubisoft has theirs, and then Activision Blizzard is gonna have. Oh, they're owned by Microsoft. So never mind. They're gonna be lumped in.
Yeah,
but like it's gonna start getting like spread out like the way movies and TV shows are now, and then all of a sudden it's gonna be like, well, in order to play the games I want, I can't buy them physically anymore. So I have to get the subscription, and I have to own like 4 or 5 subscriptions in order to play the video games I want.
Yeah, bro, I did see that a lot of people were kind of in on the Lost Crown game because of the side-scrolling aspect of it. It kind of got back to its like OG status of being a side-scroller. I've heard kind of mixed reviews on it though, that it didn't do well, and like it could have done better. And I'm actually I think my next big Switch game purchase is going to be Metroid Dread, to try to get through that series.
The game sharing thing that just reminded me, that's something I probably should have brought up as a thing. Where is it? Steam is adding back functionality to the family list.
Yeah, they actually fixed family lists to be better than it was.
So like
as somebody who is actively using family lists for my son to play games, it is now significantly better than it was.
Yeah, so before you could share games, right? Like, so if one person owns it, then you can like share it to a family member and stuff like that. And before you couldn't, like, you couldn't both play it if you were online. So there's like kind of some ways around it to like, one person boots it up, and then they go offline. The other person boots it up. There's like some ways to go around it. They said screw that, and now you can actually share games across a family account.
Yeah, it was actually even more complex than that. I could dive into it a little bit because I actually had to do it for my 10-year-old. So you had to log in with your account and set it up. Oh, thanks for the sub.
Hey, nice.
You had to log in. Yeah, thanks for the sub with the Prime. Welcome in. You had to log into your account, and then you had to add the secondary account and say that account could utilize the share. So they've changed it so because they're getting away from that piece of it. They're actually allowing you to build family accounts. So it's like They're like you have parent accounts and the child accounts, and then they can let you log in. But yeah, we're actually going to talk about that, Crow. So we're going to talk about the Fallout stuff because that is actually a big piece of this week's news. So stay tuned for that piece. But yeah, the family stuff has gotten way revamped and super nice. I haven't had a chance to dive into it yet because it hasn't shown up on my Steam yet, but I will eventually get there and get it all set up. And I think we'll eventually do an episode. We're going to do an episode where we talk about parental control stuff. We've got a couple friends with kids who struggle with that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about like kind of the ins and outs of some of that stuff. As somebody who has set up 99% of them for active use with the 3 children that I have a lot of experience with it in my back end and technical degree. So, but yeah, so that's definitely, yeah, I agree. Like, so here's the way I take it, right? So some people can't afford to drop like $60, $70 every month to play a game, right? So if you budget a specific way where you like, I have $20 a month of fun stuff that I can do, and Ubisoft can be like, for $20 a month, you get access to 134 games that's ever growing, that you just install on your computer and you continue to play. So it's like, I can see it from both sides, right? Like, pay for a game that you want to play. I had GameFly for a really long time. That service was fantastic. Now, the difference obviously between GameFly and something like Ubisoft is that your spectrum of ability to use games is completely broad in all aspects. Any game that's discable is a fair game to rent, right? So it's a little bit different than like specifying Ubisoft games. But I do it with Xbox, so I don't own an Xbox, but I utilize their cloud gaming service to play Xbox games on my tablet. So I mean, I can see the benefits of it in either side.
I'm not saying it's bad now. I'm saying it's a boiled frog instance, the slippery slope, because it's because I mean, like, Netflix was amazing, right? It was like, it had everything, and now
Right.
it has nothing, right? You gotta have like 17 subscriptions to watch anything you want to watch nowadays.
Right.
And it's just getting worse. And if video games start going down this route, it's gonna do the exact same thing.
Remember the cutting the cord mentality, and now we pay almost as much for the cutting the cord mentality than we did back before we cut the cord.
Where's that? Where's that hat with like a feather in it? I have it back here somewhere.
Yeah, feather and cap. Yeah. So funny.
Yo,
So funny.
yo.
Yeah, pirate. But yeah.
Yeah. But speaking about like games with like where to play games and stuff like that, like the Xbox cloud services like that, PS5 Pro has been like announced as real, and developers are already using it to make games and stuff like that.
Yeah, they are. PlayStation is making a hard push to try to get some games with these new features on this PS5 Pro in place, so that when they release, they're making a hard push for an end of summer release, looks like, and the little tidbits that we're getting is that they're making a big push for ray tracing, which is massive for console gaming. To get ray tracing is massive. That is going to change the scope of what games can do. It's gonna be, I mean, so they're apparently going to be moving. They're pushing their GPU to a newer GPU that's about 45% faster than the current PS5 GPU. And it'll have faster and larger system memory. It will have the architecture is going to be more aligned with what they wanted to do with the PS5. So they're doing a harder stance on the RAM being intertwined with the motherboard, so that there's faster processing power. So it's not an independent piece.
This is a big statement. This
is a huge statement. This is the mid-console killer.
Well, this specific statement that I'm reading right now from Sony expects GPU rendering on the PS5 Pro to be about 45% faster than the standard PS5. That is a big ask right there.
Yep. Think of how fast some of the games that you love to play right now are going to be.
That is a big ask. I mean, we just have to unlock freaking FPS a little bit, I guess. Yeah,
I guess they also had a fiber update recently, not Sony, but like the world
Oh,
had a
that-
fiber
oh.
update. That was
Well,
a
if they
big
found
deal.
they found all the hidden bands and like they had
Yeah.
what was the, it was like 10 trillion
It was
like
10 trillion gigabytes per second
Gig-
using the same infrastructure that they already have.
yeah, it was absolutely insane.
It's
So you could-
insanity. So it's like it's going to be pretty crazy coming down the line.
Yeah, I imagine all your latency. You can't blame lag for your missed headshots in COD anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, technology is moving so quickly right now. It's amazing, like, to think about our generation growing up like as children on like the NES and the N64, like those consoles, and the SNES, like that's like not that long ago in the span of like human time. That's not that long ago. But it's definitely gonna be crazy. So it's it's gonna be God, man, this system update, it almost feels like they should have just rendered it out as a PS6. But they've said something about trying to extend the life of this console, so PS5 being a PS5 and moving it as PS5, I think is a good smart move overall.
That one thing I wanted to say is that I actually think that internet speed increase is actually a really good argument for cloud gaming, for cloud game services.
Yep.
Because that's going to be like, in order to take advantage of that fully, I mean, like, your console or your computer is not really going to be able to take advantage of that fully. But like, I mean, granted, that's if we get all that capability, all that functionality. That's if ISPs like actually unlock it, and that's if ISPs don't paywall the crap out of it. But already has cloud gaming. Well, so does Xbox.
The Switch has the worst cloud gaming ever. Let's be fair. They brought cloud gaming just so that they could get some of the AAA games that they should have been able to play on their console. And the only reason why they have it is so that you can play those games on their consoles. It is the worst form of cloud gaming. The fact that I couldn't pick up my Switch and play Kingdom Hearts without having to have an internet connection is lunacy.
That is one of the downfalls of cloud gaming.
Yeah. So
It's all depending on your actual internet connection.
I have a qualms with the way that ended up coming out. So I like, yeah, it's there in the worst sense possible. Like, I would have rathered it just not be there.
we just need all this infrastructure, this fiber to go up the trillion gigabyte per second, and we need Starlink up. Get Elon on it, right? And then you can have your cloud gaming anywhere because you're gonna have Starlink Wi-Fi.
I hate all of it. So speaking of things with large percentage of growth, Fallout games saw a 200% player count boost in the last week. I don't know why. Nothing in the news that would have happened with Fallout that would have caused that, right? Only one of the best video game renditions of a TV show ever. Or TV show rendition of a video game ever. IGN gave it a 9 out of 10. Now, to be clear, this Fallout series is not in any way bound to any particular Fallout game. They made it its own separate story, its own separate thing. It's completely disconnected, other than it is in the Fallout universe. It is disconnected from all the games.
You mean like how they should do every video game adaptation?
Yes, exactly. Well, not every.
Most.
I do think, yeah, most.
I'm sorry. The Halo would have been great if it wasn't Master Chief. If it was an ODST story.
Yep, that's what everybody's saying. So Fallout 4 went from an average of 1,800 people playing to 18,000 people playing to 43,000 people playing. Fallout 76, which was the lesser liked version of Fallout, went from 10,000 to 19,000. Thank you for the follow. Fallout 3 went from 813 users to 2,500 users. So they did see big peak pullouts. There is a big sale going on for Fallout. If you haven't played, it's definitely worth a playthrough. At least one of them is worth a playthrough for sure.
3 and 4 are unless you're a really big Fallout fan, don't touch 76.
Yeah. So 4 or 3 are definitely worth it. New Vegas is worth it.
New Vegas is a cult classic. If
yeah,
most people who are Fallout fans swear by New Vegas.
Yep.
I've only played 4. It was fun.
But yeah, it's definitely some great news. So we're very excited for all of that.
Yeah, I don't know how many. I haven't watched it, but I don't know how many episodes out of the new Fallout show. But I heard it's really good. I heard a lot of people comparing it to The Walking Dead, mainly because it's a post-apocalypse apocalypse show. But I heard that they were actually there was ways they were doing it, like you could tell like the main like character was like failing some charisma checks and stuff like that. It wasn't just like it made it almost feel like you were like watching someone play, I guess was one thing I heard someone say, which I thought was a really interesting comment.
There are 8 episodes.
Okay.
So there is a lot. They are
the whole season dropped at once?
Yeah, they did a whole first season drop.
They did all an hour.
They are all an hour. Or roughly an hour. Yeah. So definitely good and definitely worth watching. But yeah, the Fallout stuff is like I'm excited that we're finally getting into good writing with video games, that people aren't like doing shitty stuff with it like they have been.
Yeah, well, you got to respect the source material. That's one of the biggest things.
100%.
Actually, I felt just as giddy and happy. All I did exploring 4 the first time. Oh, nice. Yeah, and yeah, on the so there's a lot of references and stuff like that in the show. That's the kind of stuff I've heard. Like if you're a Fallout fan, there's a lot of little things that you're just like, hey, like the freaking Leonardo DiCaprio meme was pointing at the TV.
Yeah.
I think with that, let's go into our actual like discussion topic for today.
Yeah, our big discussion topic for today.
Yeah.
We had a little bit of this on, I think, your stream the other day, where we were talking about this. It's a great topic to talk about because it's definitely something that we've been seeing a lot of lately, where back in that, I think the comment from this stream, at least, or this episode so far, is the like, what has Ubisoft released that's been any good, right? Like that kind of joking comment, right? And arguably it's got some stuff, but not a lot. But let's talk about indie games, right? Let's talk about the rise of great indie games. Good luck with your stream, Crow. Thank you for stopping in.
Hi, Crow.
But the rise of great indie games. So we're talking things like Enshrouded and Palworld and Dave the Diver and Hollow Knight in the past. Some of these games which are really great, solid story, could have been AAA if they had hit the right market or the right pricing, but aren't priced at a AAA pricing rate, right? But they're still fantastic games.
I mean, like all the AAA games are just flopping like left and right too.
Yeah.
But I mean, like look at what like the big news is like right now too. It's like Stardew Valley had a huge update. It's an old game. It's still an indie
such an old game,
right? But it had such a huge update, and everyone is just like, yeah, that was the big news for video games for a while. And another one of the oh my god, huge news is Hollow Knight sequel that hasn't been, that everyone is, it's a meme that's never going to come out. And then no one cares about any AAA games that are coming out right now.
Yeah, there hasn't been much on the line of like good AAA games coming out recently, which is a real shame, right? Like you want, like, I mean, there have been outliers, right? There's some stuff that's out that's really good. Like Final Fantasy 16 was really good. but it's definitely been an issue that we've been dealing with where it's that
What?
the well has been pretty dry.
I didn't know EA canceled Dead Space 2 remake. Why? Didn't the
Oh.
first remake do really well? I bought it.
I mean, I don't know if that's a marker of a good game is looking at people who feel like that. Did Gibbles buy it? Is Gibbles buying this game? It's not going to be a great game unless Gibbles buys
No,
it.
but I mean, I feel like a lot of people bought it. A lot of people were playing it. It had a huge resurgence because of the remake and how good it looked. A lot of people bought the first game and it had a huge like amount of people playing it and different things like that. And they sacked the second remake.
Yeah,
Especially the second one is the better one. The second one is the best one.
So I think we looked at this the other day, as like let's look at numbers, right? So people want hard numbers when we talk about this stuff. So we're looking at top games downloaded. This is ones for PS5. We'll talk about this, and we can try to find another one with Steam games. But Helldivers 2 is ranked number 1. That's an indie game. That's a non-AAA game. MLB Show is number 2. That's a AAA. Dragon's Dogma was number 2. Is a AAA. These are all AAA. The Star Wars Battlefield Collection Classic is technically not a AAA because it came in at a $40 price. But that's number 6. We're not even going to get into the fact that that thing bombed hard. March is a bad month to talk about this because a lot of these games are actually really good. And a lot of them were AAA. But let's look at Steam because Steam's going to be a better...
Yeah, I'm looking at the charts right now. So I mean, like the current cap, these just swapped since last I was looking at them like earlier in the week. But like current right now is Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, and then Helldivers, and then Stardew Valley. So the instant
here's a good list. So top 20 games played in March of 2024 on the Steam Deck. So definitely this is going to be a good one. So we got Stardew Valley is number 1. Baltro, I don't know what Baltro is. I haven't seen Baltro. Helldivers 2, that's an indie game. Baldur's Gate 3 is a AAA. Elden Ring is a AAA. But I mean, like, Elden Ring is I would argue is a kind of old AAA, and a lot of people are playing it in March because of the preparation for the DLC to drop.
Elden Ring is not a AAA game. It's a AA game. It is. So the definition of a AAA game is the cost to make the game.
Oh, okay.
Has to be like so high. That's the definition of what a AAA game actually is.
So
From Software is not a AAA studio.
Yeah. Deep Rock Galactic Survivor came out. That's an indie game. Pal World was an indie game. Cyberpunk is on this list. Monster Hunter World, which Monster Hunter World's been out for forever. Persona 3 Reloaded. Grand Theft Auto 3. Last Epoch. The Binding of Isaac is on this list, which is crazy because that game is so old. Elder Scrolls, Red Dead Redemption 2, Vampire Survivor, Dave the Diver, which was phenomenal. If you haven't played and enjoy cozy Switch type games, that's a good game to play. Fallout 4, Hades is an indie game, and then Persona 5 Royal. So lots of like stuff that just came out, and then there's a ton of old, like Stardew Valley's 1.6 update pushed it right back to the top of the list. It wouldn't be on the top of the list without that 1.6 update, but it's still a great indie game. It's still a great, like, super cheap indie game.
Well, here's a really good thing to look at. Top all-time peak games period on Steam charts, right? All-time peak amount of players playing it at once. If we look at the top 10, 2 of them are AAA games from AAA studios. PUBG, that PUBG actually that's actually not. Never mind. So I think one of these is. It's Hogwarts Legacy. Oh, Cyberpunk. That was the other one that I was looking at. Hogwarts Legacy and Cyberpunk are the only AAA games on this list. You got Elden Ring, New World might be, because New World was the Amazon one, right? Lost Ark.
Yes.
Got Pal World as number 2. Dota 2, of course. Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 is also not a AAA title. Oh yeah. Well, so here's the thing. That's the thing we're trying to get at, is that exact comment, Pedro. Is
Right.
that AAA games? It's and also Alex, what you're saying about the AAA title. So AAA, where it came from, was a Reddit post. It was a nickname that they gave games that had these $1 million budgets. It was what was the first AAA game? I think it was a COD, or something like that.
Right.
Um, um,
So here's a good one. Here's a
no,
Steam.
sorry, it was Final Fantasy 7, and it was 40 to 45 million,
Yeah.
76 to 85 million nowadays. That's where the term AAA comes from. Is just if a game costs that much to make.
So here's all most played games on Steam ever. All peak, right? All peak is Power World is number 2. I'm gonna read off the indie names and where they sit. Lost Ark is number 4. Elden Ring's a AA game, that's 7. Let's see. Goose Goose Duck is 11. Valheim is 13. Terraria is 15. Let's see. Helldivers is 20. Among Us is 21. Sons of the Forest is 22. Postal is 23. Let's see.
But I mean,
Let's see how far we keep going down. Last Epoch is 39. I think is 44.
I think I think that if we focus on like newer stuff is like one thing, because we're starting to get into some older games in that. But
yeah, but these are games of all time. I mean, this is like old games of all time. But that's the thing is like these games are timeless. They're super good. They're I've been spending a ton of my time recently just playing old games, playing like smaller games. I just put Hollow Knight on my Switch so I can play through that in hopes that Silksong will come out and I'll have Silksong on my Switch. I've been playing a ton of Dave the Diver. I was playing a little bit of Dredge the other day where I was messing around with Dredge. But yeah, it's crazy the amount of money that we pay these companies to make these big games, and then they end up just absolutely bombing. So wife and I are talking about doing Stardew Valley. I mean, tons of small stuff.
Yeah. So where this conversation started on my chat like a few days ago, was I was saying that a lot of people are giving a lot of huge praise to Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth, which like sure, yeah, they're great. But a lot of people are saying like, oh yeah, Remake is by itself a full game, and I'm like, no, it's not. They took a full game and they chopped it into 3 bits, and it's worth $60, and they making you pay $60 3 times. It's $180 game that you're gonna have to wait 2-3 years in between each bit. Like that's not
right.
That's not good quality. And like, well, yeah, like it adds a lot. It looks amazing. Is that worth $180 price tag? And like for some people, yeah, but like at the same time, compare it to other games that cost a fraction to make and a fraction of the cost. Like how many, like it is like Rebirth already is selling less than Remake, right? It's already not doing that well. It had a great boom, right? A lot of people are excited, hyped for it, but it hasn't sustained. But like you look at all these other games, like these $30, $40 games, Helldivers, Power World, right? They're outselling these like huge, extreme budget games that are coming out. Like, and the whole like you don't need the thing is you don't need this like 100 200 dev studio to make some huge blockbuster. I think gaming studios have gotten, a lot of them have gotten too big for the britches, right? They're like, we gotta go big, we gotta go massive. It's like movies have done the same thing. Like it's gotta be massive, and then we've lost the spectacle, and it's not.
Yes, that is very true. It's hard to find games worth $100.
They've lost the forest for the trees, or whatever the saying was. I can't think of the actual way it works. The tree for the forest.
Yeah, they lost
They've
the
lost
trees
the
to the
plot.
forest.
Yeah, the plot isn't there. They just want like big spectacle. The story isn't there. Now it's not 7 and Rebirth. That's not true because it's backing off of an amazing story from 97. When was
94, I think.
94, yeah. But I mean, like, and I think that's true of all the new AAA titles, right? I mean, like Starfield. Like, I'm sorry, like, what was Bethesda's response to people being like, the space is boring? Like, well, people weren't bored when they went to the moon, right? like you guys are, you gotta make a fun game. I don't care how much you spent on your game. I don't want to spend $70-$80 for something boring. You got to make your game fun. You got to make an actual like good game to play. Got rid of a lot of development staff. I think that's sad. And here's the thing.
There's a reason for that. We can talk about that in a second.
Development staff, but I feel like they should have broken them up into other games, right?
Yep.
And I feel like the big problem isn't the developers, right? The developers are doing a great job. They're working really hard. They've made beautiful games. The problem is the management, right?
Yeah.
The problem is I mean, like, I can tell you right now, this happened for 3 games that I really liked and I was really hyped for. 3 different games all had this exact same thing happen. It was, and you can guess which. I'll tell you which games, but I'll tell you what. I'm gonna tell you what happened first. The game was in development. It was almost completely done. Some higher up came in and told them, "No, rewrite the whole story. Just rewrite the whole story." Like, but we already have a release date. I don't care. Rewrite the whole story. And they had to rewrite the whole story, shift a bunch of character models around, try a bunch of different things, and the game came out. And I'm gonna tell you, 2 of them I thought were still great. One of them I hate right now. Destiny 1, thank you. Destiny 2, and Kingdom Hearts 3, because they swapped the project lead.
Yeah.
I hate Kingdom Hearts 3. And Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 release were great. But you know what? Yeah, wait, no, Bungie? Yeah, you know what Bungie can't do? They can't do a freaking expansion to save their lives. Nope. And I think it has a lot to do with management and how they're handling different things.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, definitely a piece of it.
How many times have you had like a manager, like, how many times have you had like, because if a company's big and it's just like, this could have been an email? Oh, you're muted. I can't hear you.
What? Why do I keep getting muted? Why do I keep getting muted? It's so weird. I pushed my thing over and it. Okay, whatever. Yeah, I honestly, it's interesting to see. So Alex, you brought up the Activision getting rid of a lot of its development staff. That was very clearly an upswing issue. So we had an upswing of really solid sales in the video game industry, and then there wasn't enough to carry those employees over. We saw it in a lot of different facets of business. It was, it hit technology industries, it hit video game industries where they had this big uptick of like really solid performance and people were really happy with what was going on, and then it slowly decreased, and there wasn't enough revenue coming in on the stuff that they were working on to support all of that stuff. So it was indicative of a bigger post-COVID issue.
It was the stay-at-home industries overcalculated their growth. They thought the growth was going to sustain, and it didn't.
Right. So that's part of it. But yeah, execs need to get their nose out of games, right? I mean, that's been the big thing. So like, we've talked about this in the past. Sony's been very well known for keeping its nose out of the development of its game developers. I think a very clear example of this is they own the production staff for Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 was fantastic, right? They let those developers do the development thing. It wasn't a AAA game, but it goes back to that whole like, hey, let them do what they're good at. You hired them to do a thing, stop sticking your nose in it, and let them do what they're good at.
I actually don't know if the executives caused the problem. I mean, like they definitely like gave 14 to Yoshi P and said, "Fix this."
Fix it, right?
And then 2.0 was amazing, right? They said, "You fix this," and then just like kind of like hands off, right? And he did. He worked his magic fingers, and everything came alive. It wasn't perfect at the beginning, and that's one of the great things is even though it wasn't perfect, it brought life into it, and they still just like hands off. And look how much more the game has grown, even more so since then, and they've still stayed hands off, right? Even when Square was like being like, let's add NFTs to games, they weren't going to Yoshi P and being like, hey, you need to add NFTs to 14. Yeah, like Activision has done with like Bungie with Destiny before. And
right.
Okay, here's an example though of like we can't blame everything on the big pencil pusher producers. And I'm gonna beat Destiny, that dead horse, until it stops spitting out money. But like we can't blame everything on the big pencil pusher producers because Destiny 2, while I think the first expansion for it, the Osiris expansion, just killed it. So it was so bad. It was just so bad. They've released some other content pretty well, but like where a lot of and Activision kept pushing monetization like crazy on them. But even after Activision left, Bungie said, "Screw that. We're gonna make we're gonna go even more into this crazy monetization thing." And Destiny 2 is one of the worst monetizations in existence right now. They are some of the scummiest monetizations out there. And so like the big bad Activision left the room and Bungie was left alone, and it still was screwing its own game over. So I don't want to say like it's all of that, but that doesn't mean like the management didn't like necessarily change over, right? And so it's still management being like, we need to make money over making a good game. If you make a good game, you get the money. But a lot of these developers or these producers and like, these higher ups are being like, no, we need to make money, and that's how you can make the game instead of the other way around. They're putting the cart in front of the horse.
Yep.
Like Hoyoverse, they're still making a good. Okay, as much as I will never ever play a Genshin or Impact game. From what I understand, they're great games. They're making great games and then making money because it's a great game. They're not making money. They're not making monetization things and saying like, how do we put a game into this? Saying Telltales. But yeah, like they're also owned by some of the larger stuff, and as I'm saying, like it's not just like the big bad corporation pencil pushers, right? It's any of the management,
right? Man, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, and there's a lot of people who are happy with what's come out, right? I mean, there's some stuff out there that's good. Definitely, we wish was better or didn't deal with as much of the cruft issue. I think the fact that we have allowed corporations to dictate that monetization is the end all be all, and we want pay to win mentality or add-on mentality. I think that's kind of where we lose the focus on the game, right? So some of these games that just haven't done very well, I mean, there's outliers, right? But some of the games that haven't done very well are ones that they're doing these massive microtransactions, and that's a big turnoff.
Like, okay, well here's one thing: Warner Bros. Giving up on its big single game release for its live service stuff,
Yeah.
like because like it had Hogwarts Legacy, and we're not going to touch any of the drama on Hogwarts Legacy, but that game made them a ton of money. It was a good game. It made them a ton of money. It was a single purchase, and it made them so much. And then they released Suicide Squad. It tanked, lost them money. They're still trying to push the live service on it. And then afterwards they were like asked on it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, no, I think live service is our future. We're gonna keep making live service games."
What a mistake.
Well,
What
a
mistake.
I think they just see the success of like GTA, right? Oh, GTA 5 is like the biggest like example I think of a live service game. Well, like
Yeah.
like Genshin makes so much money, right, like that. But like, how much money do those shark cards make, man? Um, point here. At some point, the point of making money becomes to make more money. Yeah, that's very true. Um, so here's one plot. I've been talking a lot. I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna throw it to you. Get your thoughts on it.
Yep.
So I watched this interview and I don't remember what AAA studio this guy used to work for, but he has a YouTube channel now, and he made a whole video on it, and he's talking about how he worked at a current like AAA studio, and he was one of the big like main people who worked for like Bethesda, I think it was. Like he released these like childhood like great games.
Okay.
And he's one of the lead persons on it, and he's talking about how he needed a he needed to get one of the software, one of the dev teams, they needed a software to just like track something real quick. It wasn't Pirate Software, no. I know who that is though. But he needed a software in order to just like track something real quick. It wasn't going to be the finished product for that software, but he needed it so he could get to the other dev team, so the other dev team could start working on stuff, and they could actually like start advancing, because they were at a standstill. So he went to one of the other guys, and he said, "Oh yeah, I can get that for you in 6 weeks." And the dude was just like, "I'm sorry, what? 6 weeks? No, this takes like 2 hours. Just go do it right now. Get it to me, and then I can get to the team right now. Just prioritize this." And he's like, "No, I'll get it to you in 6 weeks." And so then he went to his supervisor, and the supervisor was just like, "Hey, how long?" He's like, "How long is this gonna take?" The supervisor's like, "How long is it gonna take?" To the guy, he's like, 6 weeks. And the supervisor went, 6 weeks. And so the dude was just like, "Screw this." He went back, made it himself, and then gave it to the other dev team. So there's bureaucracy, like, and the explosion of these dev teams of being like hundreds of people, right? There's what's the fraction? It's like 10% of all employees do 80% of all the work, right? Yep. This explosion of employees, I think it's just grinding these games to like a halt on a lot of like instances. So
I mean, from somebody, so I won't tell you which company I work for. I know Bart knows, but I won't tell you which company I work for, but I work for a SaaS company, and that mentality of like, let's not rush it is so prevalent in SaaS work. It's like, it's crazy how like things that could very easily be done very quickly are like just thrown to the wayside. It always shocks me on stuff like that. But it's not uncommon, right? So it's like you want something, it's going to take time. And, and some people are like, well, no, it should take you 2 hours to do that. Sure. But then there's like competing priorities and stuff like that. So it's, like, I think that the video game industry as a whole, in that vain sense, needs to get back to like proper planning. So like, I think we mentioned this before, where it's like, I think the video game industry has gotten incredibly sloppy because it knows that if somebody else finds a mistake, that they can put a patch in for it and get it out to people. And I think that has made video game industries incredibly sloppy with their work, that they're not making more polished work. If they were held to a higher fee or a higher standard to release a game with fewer bugs, I think we would see longer development times and better development times and better game releases. And that's my hard opinion on that. I mean, I think I get the mentality of like the 10% of workforces does 80% of the work. That's entirely true, right? The further you get up in the joke in corporate America is the higher you are up on the food chain, the less work you do, right? So like managers get less like physical work done because they're attending meetings and being a part of all the meeting stuff that doesn't necessarily get anywhere, where they then pass that information down to the lower ends that actually do the end work. So I would say that the video game industry just needs to take a moment to I don't think increasing your production staff is going to help you fix the problem at the end. I think you legitimately need to focus on what you're doing in order to be able to properly prepare for stuff like that.
So here's one thing that like I've worked big companies. I've worked a company where I was the only employee, right? And I've worked like everything in between. I've had quite a few jobs. And I will say this, like smaller companies, and here there is a one of the benefits to being a small company is massive flexibility, right? It's stressful because every single person, one of my bosses says everyone needs to wear multiple hats, right? You have to go over here and you have to put this hat on. You have to go over here, put this hat on. It's stressful per person, and the workload is higher on each person, but it allows for flexibility, right? It allows for that, like, hey, I know you're working on all this stuff, but we need this one thing to advance this other team. And that entire other department is at a standstill until you get this done. So prioritize this. And a larger company has a harder time doing that, moving something from all the way in the back of the line to the front of the line, right? Because there's always a bunch of bureaucracy and this, like, oh, well, I didn't know I was supposed to do it. They said they were supposed to do it. And then like, oh, well, they were supposed to do it. Okay, well, it was on Teams, guys. When I sent the message out, who didn't see it? Well, I thumbs up it. Yeah, so you were supposed to do it. Well, no, I just said I read it. Like, it creates it, like, and that is more of a larger team problem than a smaller team problem, because a smaller team, you guys all sit down and be like, okay, who's gonna do this? Okay, you're doing it. Okay, cool, bye. Right. And I feel like these video games have gotten, especially these AAA studios, have gotten too big for their britches. Is I think my biggest like statement on it. Right. Yeah. They need to like, as I said earlier about like them like letting go a lot of people. Right. Yeah, it was because of the stay-at-home inflation of workforce, right? The tech boom. And my answer for that is like, okay, like it would have been great to just like separate them into smaller teams instead of creating like, let's throw everyone we can at this one big project, right? Make a bunch of games, but at the same time, another problem we have with games right now is that there is an oversaturation in the market. That is another problem.
One of the things that we saw, for those who watched Grounded, for the Last of Us 2 release, the remake, Grounded 2 came out, and they were talking about the process for building Last of Us 2, and there's many parts in that story in that video where they don't have enough production staff to actually do all of the things that they want, and they actually kind of call out the like, we don't have time to pick people up and get them ramped up fast enough to be able to utilize them in a meaningful way. So like they were dealing with I can't remember what the game they were coinciding their build up with was, that they were working on. I'd have to look it up, but they couldn't use the sound guys because the sound guys were finalizing this game, and they couldn't use the special effects guys because the special effects guys were being utilized for something else. I think it was the Uncharted 4 game, I think, or no, it was the add-on to Uncharted 4, that like standalone story that they built for Nina. It was that they were finalizing while they were trying to get like the beginning portions of like demos and stuff started for The Last of Us. So, but they just didn't have enough. They physically didn't have enough staff to do it. And so it was like, well, okay, so we can't push a demo out for this event, so we'll have to wait for the next. Like, it was like balancing when they were going to be able to push out events for games because of releases in that way. So it's always really interesting where people are like, well, I don't have enough staff. And then it's like, okay, well, now we hired too much staff. It almost would have been better in that same sense that you said, Bard, where they had brought on these new team members, and instead of just immediately firing them, maybe branching them off into their own studio and seeing what they could do, right? Like, so instead of diminishing that group, they could have, given them a little bit of life and given them a little bit of work and maybe figure something else out that could have, made revenue. It's the age old comment of you have to spend money to make money kind of a deal.
You have some co-director or something like that that has like that's been working on one of like your games that's actually doing really well, and they had a pitch like some other day, and you kind of blew it off because you didn't have the staff, but now you're gonna fire this whole section and group. So you just be like, hey, dude, hey, you had that one video game, pitch it to me again, right? And
Right.
then be like, hey, here's your team, go. Show me what you got. You got like maybe you say like, hey, you got a month, right?
If you're gonna say
I don't
show me
expect
what you
anything
got,
like
you got to be a
kinda,
disembodied head.
I say you don't have to show like anything like actual like you just show proof of concept kind of thing. Don't like you don't, I just need bones. If you give me like some kind of like setup of a script, like a rough draft, and I can see like some kind of setup of like the way the game plays. I'll give you a month with that whole team over there. Show me like some kind of skeleton, and if it looks like something can be made out of this, then we keep it. But otherwise, then we let them all go.
And they,
Like
and they actually, so they did that, and that was one of the things they actually did in the in the grounded video. They were talking about a guy who they had brought in to be part of the test team, and he was finding all of these bugs. But on top of finding all the bugs, he was actually giving the development team like what he thought was a good idea on how to fix it from a code perspective. And so they ended up bringing him on to the development team to actually start developing. And so like Neil actually pushed him to do the demo that we saw, like the one in the parking garage, that we saw of The Last of Us 2 before it released. Like he was the one that had the guys that was heading up that project after he got pulled. So he got pulled from the test team doing like the initial test work, and then they got put into development where he was like fast tracked on how to learn how to do that stuff. So it was like they were kind of doing that sort of thing where they were like, hey, like we see that you're like contributing so much to the development, and we want to make you a bigger part of that. So
yeah, I mean, there's I had like 3 different things were all going in my head through your whole conversation, your whole thing, and
Sorry.
they just all went out of my brain
gone.
the instant I went to go talk.
ADHD brain for the
Oh,
win.
so well, I mean, like a good example of this as well is of like someone coming in kind of late. They didn't come in really late, but the combat lead for Final Fantasy 16, right? He was the he worked for, is Devil May Cry Capcom? No.
What? Square?
Konami.
Oh, Konami. Okay.
He worked I believe it's Devil May Cry. Or it's Devil May Cry I think it's Capcom.
Yeah,
but
Capcom was Devil May Cry.
Yeah, he was the he was one of the main leads on Devil May Cry, and he wanted to take a break. He wanted to move away from Capcom, and Square picked him up. And so they threw him on halfway. It was like halfway through to Final Fantasy 16. They had a lot of like the little bits of like the game coming together of like how they wanted the combat to go, but they just couldn't figure out a lot of little things. And specifically, they were trying to get figure out a way to put like the job system into 16, right? And they had all of the primal powers already like locked and loaded, right? And then they were like, okay, now we got to add in like a class system, and they just couldn't figure out how to add it in. And he came in and he was just like, just use the primals.
Just don't.
just use those. That's your class, right? You can use that one as one class, and like removes another one, and that like they're all like elementally charged. Just use that as your class system. And they were like, oh shit, and it just streamlined everything the instant he came in, right? So
yeah,
like, yeah,
you definitely could do something like that.
Adding people in late, it definitely. Well, and this is where the 10% of the workforce does 80% of the work, right? It's a labor thing. Like one person on your team, you can take a second, you can look around, and you can look at them, and you'll see like 7 people or 8 people, whatever, checking Facebook, and you'll see one person is like putting in his cash in a spreadsheet, and then cash in another one, and then cash in another one, and then the other person loads the spreadsheet and starts working. And that's true.
Yeah.
This is a thing that's like work like everywhere. Like some people are just motivated and have the energy to just keep going with it, and those usually get promoted, and they usually get promoted until they hit their actual skill ceiling and they're no longer good at their job anymore, which is another what what's the word I'm looking for? Another like job thing. You always get promoted until you're inept at your job, and then you're stuck.
Yeah. Yep.
You're like, I was great at my last job, but now I got promoted and now I suck. And then you stuck
I was
there.
an adventurer once until I took an arrow to the knee.
Exactly. Yeah, I think
Support your local indie game developers.
I think we're gonna get more AA games. We got and indie games are gonna be coming out, and they're gonna start taking over. And I feel like a lot of these giants, well, I don't think they're gonna fall, really, because I mean, like,
now
look at like a good section of the giants, right? It's Activision, Blizzard, Bethesda. They're all owned by Microsoft. Microsoft's not going anywhere, right?
No, Microsoft's not going anywhere.
Yeah, so
Much to our shit may.
so like I don't think these AAA giants are gonna fall or necessarily like really go anywhere, but they're gonna fall out of fashion.
Yep.
Maybe these AA are gonna start becoming the AAAs. So like look at the studios you're seeing now that are like they're pushing out games real good. And this is a quote. Hunter, you mentioned Pirate Software. This is something from him. Look at the people making the game, not the studio. Because once the people leave, that's usually when the studio starts being sucky. Like,
Yeah.
you can get a new set of team developers in that are like, oh, amazing and great, and then they put out another a great game. But in between there's some really crappy games that come out. I think the main example he gave of that was the guy, one of the lead developer for Hearthstone, really likes card games, and he left, and then Hearthstone kind of went really downhill, and he went and made Marvel Snap, and Marvel Snap's doing great.
Yep.
So I think that was a good discussion.
Yeah, it was great. I'm happy with where that ended. But yeah, I think the big thing is like, don't look at a game based upon its value on the market. Look at a game based upon the quality of the game and the reviews and whatnot. I think that's definitely something to look forward to.
Gamers are pushovers. Save your money. Vote with your wallet. Stop being a pushover. So many gamers are just like, wow, we don't want microtransactions in our games.
Stop buying games with microtransactions.
but I could buy horse armor. I don't want it in my game, but it looks kind of nice.
Don't want it to be that way.
I mean, if it's in the game, I might as well buy it, But I don't want it to be there, but I might as well buy it. Then there's gonna be more. Don't give in. Hold out.
Hold out. But yes, the only way we're gonna make change in the market is by swaying people with our money. So just take that in consideration when you buy a game, or you support microtransactions, that you're supporting companies continuing to do microtransactions when you support microtransactions. So if that's something you like and want to see, then buy into it. If not, stop buying microtransactions. Anyways, this is about the time we talk about the things and games that we've been playing in the last little bit. Mine hasn't really changed. We did some Final Fantasy VII on stream last week. That was super fun, and we're probably going to do some more Final Fantasy VII this week. And wife and I are going to be picking up Stardew Valley and playing that together. And I played this small little game called Pixel Cafe, where you play as this girl who runs a small cafe. That's been pretty fun. And I've still been playing a crap ton of Dave the Diver. The game is so good. Can't get enough of it.
I've heard it's really good, but I don't really have an interest in playing it. There's a lot of games, like a lot of stuff like that.
It's not your type of game.
Well, no, I just don't have any interest in it. I mean, there's a lot of games like that. Like, I have no interest in playing Cyberpunk. I've heard it's a great game. I'm not interested in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm playing. Currently going through a dagger only playthrough of Elden Ring.
Souls-like.
We're playing Souls-like. Yes, we're doing Swolden Ring. Every death is 10 push-ups, and I'm doing a dagger only run. Saturday, I'm gonna try off stream to actually do the little bit of leveling up that I was, or like the dungeon section for Persona that I got stuck in and I'm starting to do on stream, and I just want to do like the actual story on stream. So I'm just gonna knock out that whole dungeon off stream, and then Saturday we'll see if I can finish Persona 4. But other than that,
No
it's gonna
promises,
be.
Joy. There are no promises that he's going to finish Persona ever.
I tried to do it Saturday, but I was like stuck in a dungeon. And I was like, this is taking forever. And I had to get like some stuff done, but I just wanted to do the main story, so I just called it quits and went and did other stuff. But yeah, be doing some more. Probably I'm gonna try and do some Ukop Sunday, on 14, and other than that, it's gonna be Elden Ring and some mount farming probably.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get into like a mode where I'm not super busy to start doing maybe a weekend stream again, but things are just really busy right now. We are still trying to get the Etsy store up and running. We've got a path now with the resin prints to get them molded, and so we got some of that stuff in the works. So
Gotta fix
keep
that
your
3D
eyes
printer.
peeled over the next. Yeah, that's the FDM printer though. That's a totally different. I've been printing stupid stuff on my FDM printer, like this steering wheel for my Nintendo Switch, so that I could play Mario Kart with my kids. But yeah, so that's where I'll probably have that fixed sometime today. But anyways, yeah, I think the big one we're gonna do this week is Stardew though. I'm like, kind of excited to do that off stream and play that a little bit.
Nice.
Get back into that with the big update. But yeah, so I think we'll end it there. In normal fashion, we don't do any kind of rating on podcast days. So I thank you guys for coming in. I thank all the new people for coming in. For those who gave follows today, thank you for the follows. For those who gave subs today, thank you for the subs. And yeah, we'll be back again next week to do the same thing as we always do. Thank you guys for great input tonight. And yeah, have a great evening, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye, guys.